Elena had been a collector of old, strange things for as long as she could remember. Her apartment was a veritable museum of the weird and wonderful, with each artifact telling its own peculiar story. One rainy afternoon, a letter arrived for her. It bore no return address, only a vague, old-timey seal that piqued her curiosity. Inside, she found an ancient, slightly discolored photograph of a grand but abandoned Victorian house, shrouded in mist. A quick scan with her computer revealed nothing. It was as though the photograph didn't exist. Intrigued, she decided to find this elusive house, compelled by an irresistible draw. After weeks of searching through historical records and neglected archives, she found a match in an old newspaper from the 1900s. The house was known as the Blackwood Manor, abandoned after a series of gruesome events that townsfolk attributed to dark rituals. Elena couldn't resist. She packed her bags and drove to the remote village where Blackwood Manor was located. As she approached, the air grew colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped her. The villagers avoided her gaze and spoke in hushed tones. When she finally reached the manor, it stood as it had in the photograph, majestic yet decaying, draped in an ethereal fog. With each step she took towards the house, a sense of dread gnawed at her, but curiosity pushed her forward. The air inside was thick with dust and the faint scent of decay. Gnarled furniture lay overturned, and eerie portraits lined the walls, their eyes following her every move. She explored each room cautiously, but found nothing extraordinary until she reached the attic. There, in a dark corner, was a mirror covered in a thick cloth. She hesitated for a moment, but then pulled it off. What she saw made her blood run cold. The reflection was not her own. Instead, it showed the same house, alive, bustling with life, but through its windows, she saw dark figures performing arcane rituals. As she stared, she felt herself being pulled into the scene, her body immobilized, her screams silent. The mirror's surface rippled, and suddenly she was no longer in the attic, but among the dark figures. They turned to face her, their eyes void of life. One of them, a tall figure draped in shadows, approached her. Its face was a grotesque mask of agony. "Welcome home, Elena," it whispered, its voice echoing within her mind. She realized with mounting horror that she was no longer a visitor, but a trapped soul within Blackwood Manor, an eternal participant in its dark rituals. The next day, the villagers noticed something strange. The photograph of Blackwood Manor, which had been blank for decades, now showed a new detail, a terrified woman staring out from one of the attic windows. Elena had become a permanent part of the enigma she had so desperately sought to unravel.